Coming in at number 10, we have Behemoth, an evil clone of the Hulk. Created through the scheming of the villainous Master of the World, an enlightened caveman of a villain who usually fights against the Canadian superhero team Alpha Flight, this clone was named Behemoth when he was sent along with several other cloned heroes to fight the Heroes for Hire. And while any clone of the Incredible Hulk is obviously going to be a bit intimidating, this clone luckily wasn't long for this world, surviving just a single issue before the Heroes for Hire defeated him by blowing up the entire island they were fighting on. Then again, if you're fighting the Hulk, that's probably the least messy ending you're likely to get. Coming in at number 9, we have Daydream. Now, this entry might be more of an honorable mention, as it's a bit unclear if Daydream was genetically tied to Bruce Banner at all, or just Betty Ross, but either way, she's definitely one of the weirdest daughters someone could have. Created by combining the mental energies of both Betty Ross and the Marvel villain known as Nightmare, Daydream is half human and half dream entity, capable of teleporting at will and reshaping the dreams and mental state of anyone around her, including the Incredible Hulk. Coming in at number 8, we have another technical Hulk daughter with Carmilla Black, aka the New Scorpion. A genetically engineered human created from the genetic material of Monica Rappaccini, the scientist supreme of AIM, and Bruce Banner. Carmilla has a scorpion stinger connected to her arm and a natural immunity to every poison in the world. While best known for serving with S.H.I.E.L.D. after discovering her origins were connected to the evil AIM, Carmilla has served with several different teams over the course of her career, and even if she might not be aware that she has some of Bruce Banner's DNA within her, she definitely is a green fighter the Hulk could be proud of. Coming in at number 7, we have the Incredible Claw. And just in case you can't tell from the text on screen, yes, that's just the Hulk spelled backwards. Created by the psychic villain Zemnu to be a superior clone to the original Grey Hulk, Claw was far more intelligent than the usual Grey Hulk persona, at the cost of him being slightly less powerful than his original inspiration. Claw was nearly able to kill both the Green and the Red Hulk with the help of Zemnu, but was eventually defeated whenever the hero Impossible Man combined both Red and Green Hulks into the Compound Hulk, a more powerful gamma creature that was able to put down Claw for good. Don't you just love a totally normal and not weird at all comic book ending? Coming in at number 6, we have Hiro Kala. An infant son that the Hulk thought he had lost during the destruction of the planet Sakaar, Hiro spent many years wandering the galaxy after he survived the explosion due to his mother's cocoon. Embracing the heritage of his mother's people, Hiro converted their religion's old power into a new power by merging his psychic abilities with that of Galactus's power cosmic. While not green-skinned or as strong as his father, Hiro Kala has continued to try and lead the Sakaaran people and find them a new suitable home amongst the stars. Coming in at number 5, we have the Nerd Hulk, an evil clone from the Ultimate Universe. Created from Bruce Banner's stem cells by the sociopathic brother of Tony Stark, Gregory, Nerd Hulk was intended to be the best of both worlds version of the Hulk, with all the strength and rage of his gamma form combined with the intellect and restraint of Bruce Banner. However, this had the downside of making the Hulk actually afraid of combat despite his strength, and for a long time he was considered a bit of a laughingstock until by chance he was bitten by the Ultimate Universe's version of a vampire. This combination of a vampire's bloodlust and the Hulk's strength finally made the vampire Nerd Hulk a worthy villain for the Ultimates, and was only able to be defeated when he was cleverly teleported across the world into sunlight by Captain America. Coming in at number 4, we have Bo Banner. In the alternate apocalyptic future that the Old Man Logan stories take place in, the Hulk name has fallen into ruin, as the Hulk Gang is a roaming band of cannibal hillbillies that are apparently the spawn of the Hulk and his own cousin, having gone insane after receiving too much additional radiation from this version of America's nuclear war. One of the leaders of this hillbilly gang is Bo Banner, who winds up killing Wolverine's family after they're late paying protection fees. And while Wolverine dispatches Bo in a gruesome use of C4 explosives, cannibal descendants of the Hulk are still a pretty nasty and powerful surprise to find in this dark alternate future. Coming in at number 3, we have Lyra from Earth 8009. Born from the genetic material of the Hulk and her mother Thundra, the leader of an alternate future in which a warrior clan of women have taken over the planet, Lyra was intended to be the perfect union of the strongest man and the strongest woman in existence. And while Lyra's gamma powers have the unfortunate setback of actually making her weaker as she gets angrier, Lyra still has one hell of a punch due to the combined genetics of her parents. Trained in combat with every sort of physical weaponry imaginable, Lyra has since become an ally and friend of Earth 616's She-Hulk and fights by her side as an occasional accomplice. Coming in at number 2, we have Bruce Banner Jr. The youngest child of the Hulk gang from the post-apocalyptic Old Man Logan future we introduced earlier in this list, Bruce Banner Jr. was first introduced as just an ugly Hulk baby, kinda looking a little bit like the Grinch. However, in a storyline set 500 years later, this Hulk baby has grown into a new, more heroic version of the Hulk villain Maestro, himself a completely different evil future version of Bruce Banner. Having overcome his horrific origins to become an intelligent and heroic leader, Bruce Banner Jr. would occasionally cross over into the main Marvel universe and is currently still looking for a new world to call his own. And finally, coming in at our top spot, we have Scar, the son of the Incredible Hulk and the older brother of Hiro. The offspring of the Hulk and Sierra the Old Strong, Scar's mother died so that he might live during the destruction of his planet, and eventually made his way back to Earth following in his father's footsteps. Calling himself the Killer of Killers, Scar has all of the strength of his father combined with the stone and magma manipulating power of his mother, and has walked the line between hero and anti-hero often enough that he was even Steve Rogers' double agent whenever Norman Osborn had taken over the Dark Avengers. No matter what situation he finds himself in, Scar will always be one of the strongest gamma beings in the entire Marvel Universe.
Number 10, Maker. I've said it before, I'll say it again. The Ultimate Universe is awesome. Hulk in this universe is actually quite a bit scarier, at least to me. You know who else is scarier? Reed Richards, the Maker. The Maker is the Reed Richards of the Ultimate Universe, who is evil. He's part of a group of superpowered beings alongside Hulk, Human Torch, Kang, and Quicksilver, who are called the Dark Ultimates. They are essentially villains together, and Hulk and Maker are actually kind of on the same team. Maker actually battles Hulk in a more psychological way, when he calms one of his rampages and convinces him he's being used by S.H.I.E.L.D. After a whole whack of confusing comic booky stuff, the Ultimates all team up and save the day, and then travel the cosmos hunting down the Maker. Number 9. The Leader. It's a great name, honestly. The Leader. Nice. Rightfully so, too. This guy is one of the Hulk's oldest rivals. Samuel Stearns was a janitor at a chemical facility where he unfortunately also had an incident involving gamma radiation. Samuel's gamma mutations gained him a super genius level intelligence, along with some telepathy. He also has the gamma ability of self-resurrection. There is actually an instance in Immortal Hulk number 39 in which he physically consumes the intelligence of another man, Brian Banner. But we don't know if this is a normal ability or a kind of mental representation of him consuming another person's knowledge, since he was in the below place at the time. The Leader fights with Bruce on so many different occasions, but the Immortal Hulk story is the one I'm really into right now. You should check it out if you haven't before. Number 8, Maestro. The Maestro is technically Hulk himself, only an alternate version, one who lived through a nuclear apocalypse. He has the intelligence of Bruce, but basically double the strength of Hulk in his base form. He has easily defeated the Hulk several times, and his existence as a possible future version of the Hulk scares the hell out of Bruce himself. He is what would happen if you took the Hulk and made him evil and power hungry and powered him up. In his timeline, he rules over the megacity of Dystopia, where the remnants of humanity live, and he overthrew the former ruler Hercules not through pure strength, but through deception. He is powerful, ruthless, and just a pretty rude dude. Number 7. Juggernaut. Kane Marco, the avatar of the god Sidorak. Kane is a Thor-level threat to the Marvel Universe, wielding the abilities granted to him by the Gem of Sidorak. Juggernaut has almost limitless super strength and stamina. He has a nearly invulnerable force field, he's immortal, and when he does somehow get damaged, he has a ridiculous healing factor. His main ability, however, is irresistible force embodiment, meaning once he begins to advance in a certain direction, it is virtually impossible to halt his movements. guess who was one of the only characters to actually stop him? Thor! Yes, but shut up! Hulk! Hulk was one of them when he was War Hulk. Gosh, I gotta stop getting ahead of myself. Number 6, Nightmare. A mysterious lord of fear. Nightmare is basically an unstoppable demon capable of capturing the astral form or spirit of a person while they are sleeping. Nightmare has been shown to be capable of subduing 2 earth demigods, an eternal and an elder god. That's the kind of power we're talking about. But you can solve any problem when you're an impossibly strong green monster made of pure muscle, right? Nightmare manages to capture Hulk's mind and send him on a rampage against Dr. Stephen Strange. Luckily, the good doctor was able to contact Banner inside the Hulk's mind. I don't really know how one does this, but Banner transformed into the Hulk inside the Hulk's mind and fought off Nightmare. They've clashed a few other times, like when he took off Nightmare's head and stole his horse. Again, I don't know how it works, but it is what it is. Number 5, Onslaught. After Magneto used his powers to rip the adamantium out of Wolverine's body, Professor Xavier snapped and shut down the mind of Magneto. In the process of this, Xavier absorbed all the anger, grief, and lust for vengeance from Magneto's mind, which molded with every long suppressed negative feeling the Professor had endured during the last 30 years. This resulted in a personality forming within Xavier, known as Onslaught, that would eventually separate to become a separate entity all on its own. Onslaught was incredibly powerful, and all the Avengers, X-Men, and Fantastic Four could not take him. That's when Bruce Banner's Hulk said, "Hold my beer," and told Phoenix to turn off the Bruce personality inside his head. She did. And the Savage Hulk beat Onslaught so hard he destroyed his impenetrable armor, allowing Thor to land a massive blow and the heroes to take the win. Number 4, Thanos. Thanos is an interesting one, and we're talking without the Infinity Gauntlet. See, he is exceedingly strong, so much so that he can stand toe-to-toe with Hulk, at least at Hulk's base strength. Thanos tends to have the advantage in most of their conflicts, using his intelligence and martial skill to take the win more often than not. We see an excellent example of this in the MCU's Infinity War, even if it was a stupid excuse for Hulk not to show up for the rest of the movie. The two of these guys have traded wins pretty evenly, but Thanos has the advantage in my mind. If you have the time, check out the Thanos vs. Hulk 4-part story. It's a cool story involving Annihilus, and it leads right into Thanos the Infinity Relativity, which is also a really fun read. Number 3, Surter. We mentioned the MCU in the last point, but I thought I'd go full force into it. In Thor Ragnarok, we get to see Hulk attack Surter, the fire giant, as he is destroying Asgard with the Twilight Sword. It's actually really awesome. So he has fought Surter, but how would that go in the comics? That's a good question. Well, we know that Surtur's main purpose is to beat Odin, so he is at least on Odin's level. You know who else is on Odin's level? Zeus. And Zeus and Hulk have had a bit of a scuffle once upon a time, which didn't go well for the Hulk. But then again, you take one of Hulk's more powerful forms, like Worldbreaker Hulk or Heart of the Monster Hulk, and Hulk takes the win every time. Number 2, Galactus. He's a cosmic being who goes around eating planets, and he thinks he can try to come to Earth and pull that nonsense? We have a Hulk. Earth's dinner menu is no longer available. Oh, just kidding. The Hulk has not won against Galactus, and they've never really had a one-on-one fight. It's safe to say that of all the heroes on Earth, Hulk is maybe one who could make Galactus notice him though. But that's likely as far as it will go. Just like with Surtur, in theory he could win if he got angry enough, but we just haven't had an example of that. And it would have to be quite the insane level of power for Hulk to take the win. Hulk does actually become the Herald of Galactus at one point when he becomes Worldbreaker Hulk in What If World War Hulk, and it is just insane. Number 1, the One Below All. In the Immortal Hulk storyline, Hulk is transported to the Below Place, which is the realm of the One Below All. Now, just to give some context, in Marvel Comics there's a character called the One Above All, who hasn't really been seen all too often, but it essentially is the equivalent to God, or the Creator. Now we have gods like Odin and Zeus and Thor in Marvel Comics, but this is different. It is like the God of everything, the supreme ruler of creation and compassion. It's even been represented as the writers of Marvel at one point, to give you an idea. So the One Below All is the antithesis to this, the personification of destruction and hate. The One Below All is trapped in the Below Place and manifests in realities through Gamma, Basically, this means that Hulk and the other gamma mutated beings have fractions of the one below all's power. In an alternate future, it would actually take over Bruce Banner's body and use his power to devour the cosmic entity Eternity, and eventually it would eradicate all life in the multiverse. Luckily, this is prevented in the Immortal Hulk storyline, but I'm telling you, go read this. Number 10, Ultimate Hulk. Just like every villain who is warned not to experiment on himself, the Ultimate Universe Bruce Banner, who thought he perfected the super soldier serum, used it on himself, which had a pretty unfortunate effect. Instead of becoming big and strong like Captain America, he became big and strong like Bull, or like Hulk, I guess, and tore apart the lab he was working in. So already this is a different kind of Hulk. You know, no gamma explosion caused this monstrosity. When he mixed Captain America's serum with his Hulk serum and injected himself though, he became a grey monstrous Hulk and became a bit more villainous. Not necessarily on purpose, but I mean, he ate people, said some pretty not okay things, and rampaged around New York giving the newly formed Ultimates a threat to fight. He did eventually become a bit more of an on-again, off-again hero, even though he allied himself with the Maker at one point. But I mean, at least he wasn't actually as powerful as the original 616 Hulk, which makes him a bit better to deal with. Number 9, Aboriginal Hulk. Ever heard of the House of M? When Wanda Maximoff changed reality to make the mutant Magneto the ruler of the world with his family? Well, in this world, when Bruce Banner transformed into the Hulk after the Gamma explosion, it is believed by Mr. Ross that he is a spy of Magneto, and he is hunted down like normal. But not like normal, he travels all the way to Australia, and he settles in with a group of Aboriginals where he becomes a part of their tribe, and finds an inner peace with Banner and the other guy. But of course, the conflict between the mutants and the last remaining resisting humans finds its way to the outback and onto the territory of his Aborigine tribe. With a kind of control over the Hulk persona, Hulk and Banner help the humans halt their persecution by their mutant overlords, eventually helping AIM to rule Australia. There's this really cool moment where Hulk is like using a whale to cover a submarine. It looks amazing, I promise. Just check it out. Number 8, Hulk the End. After what seems to be a nuclear apocalypse has wiped out every other form of human life on the planet Earth, of course, it is the Hulk who is the only one remaining. Kind of fitting, as he has always wanted to be left alone, and now he is alone. Except not fully. Now that every human has left, Hulk is left with one person who won't leave him be, Dr. Bruce Banner. Banner is always there, just kind of on the subconscious background. This version of the Hulk contends against massive mutated cockroaches who eat him, but he always heals and remains alive. It's rather strange how this happens, but at some point in time, Bruce Banner actually passes on inside of the transformed Hulk from a heart attack, and finally lives the Incredible Hulk utterly and totally alone in the world. It's honestly a really depressing story, and it ends just as depressingly, but it is nonetheless an amazing story, and I think if you've never checked it out, you probably should. Number 7, Hulk 2099. Spider-Man 2099 is an incredible character and story. The world that Marvel set up in 2099 is just as awesome and brilliant, which led to a bunch of heroes getting 2099 counterparts. Obviously, the Hulk had to be one of them. In 2099, you'll find a cult called the Knights of Banner, who are trying their darndest to create a Hulk. Oh, and to get a movie deal, but mainly to get a Hulk. Or a Hulk-like thing. A man named John Ironheart joins up with the cult, and after an upset cult member triggers a gamma explosion, Ironheart is transformed into a new version of the Hulk. Now this alternate Hulk is just a smidge different from our regular Hulk. Like, I don't know, his super strong prehensile tongue. That's a big one. His crazy long hair could be considered another. He had sharp teeth and very strong claws, and he also isn't a savage Hulk, so his strength is not limitless. But yeah, I'd still run from this monstrosity. Number 6, the Lizard Hulk. In Spider Island, New York has been captured and taken over by an evil Spider Queen, who not only rules the citizens, but has also turned most of them into mindless spider people. She has even turned a large number of heroes into scary looking spider mutates. Hulk is one of those heroes. Now, while this version of Hulk could honestly make this list, there is a point in the story where Flash Thompson, otherwise known as Agent Venom, who leads a resistance against the Spider Queen and is trying to cure the spider virus, infects Hulk with the blood of Dr. Kurt Connor, or as he is otherwise known, the Lizard. This actually works, and instead of being an arachnid type Hulk, the strongest Avenger becomes a lizard type Hulk. I don't know. He fights alongside a werewolf Steve Rogers, a vampire Carol Danvers, and a green Green Goblin Tony Stark. It's pretty cool. And he himself is pretty impressive. I mean, just look at the power set he now possesses. All his gamma mutated physiological abilities, his limitless strength, and all that loveliness, plus the abilities of the lizard from 616, including that sweet tail. Number 5. Venom Hulk. Now, this has happened in the 616 continuity. In Absolute Carnage, Venom abandons Eddie Brock to bond with a more powerful character to take on the null-boosted Carnage, the Hulk. It looks amazing, with Venom barely even being able to fully cover the Hulk's massive body. But while you may think this combo would be a game changer for the heroes, it is ultimately really disappointing, as Bruce is dealing with his Devil Hulk persona and Carnage targets this. Hulk reverts back to Banner and then gets his spine ripped out, way too fast. Luckily, we get a slightly less awesome looking version of Venom Hulk. In What If number 4 on Earth 1089, we see a Venom symbiote fully bond with Spider-Man in their first encounter. He feeds off him until he encounters the Hulk. Now, if I was a symbiote and I had the choice between Peter Parker and the Incredible Hulk, I'd probably ditch Peter Parker just like Venom did here. He easily takes over the simpler mind of the Hulk. Venom feeds off the gamma radiation of the Hulk, eventually moving on to Thor, but the potential of this kind of amalgamation is just, I don't know. I think I gotta change my underwear now. Yeah. Number 4, Infernal Hulk. I think superheroes need to stop banishing Hulks. It doesn't do anything but make them more mad. And in this case, you turn them into a demon. In the universe of Earth 11638, Bruce Banner has become the Sorcerer Supreme after being Doctor Strange's apprentice. And to sidetrack for a moment, could you imagine Bruce Banner running around like Mickey Mouse in The Sorcerer's Apprentice? You can't tell me that wouldn't be entertaining. Anyways, using the magic he learned, he managed to separate the Hulk persona from himself and send it to hell. For Supreme Sorcerer, you think he would have a bit more forethought. Sending the Hulk to hell managed to get him corrupted by demons, turning him into the Infernal Hulk, and giving him some pretty powerful demonic abilities. Now, after some time, Earth 11638 is visited by the Earth 616 Bruce Banner alongside Deadpool and Spider-Man. The Infernal Hulk clawed his way back into the mortal plane by trading places with the Hulk persona of Earth 616 Bruce Banner. Spider-Man, Deadpool, and Sorcerer Bruce Banner come up with a plan by reversing the spell that banished the Hulk persona and sacrificing Magic Bruce so the Infernal Hulk had nowhere to go, effectively ending the whole thing, and it was all thumbs up after that. I don't know. Number 3, Maestro. I feel like we have talked about him way too many times to count, but for those of you who don't know, Maestro is the dystopian future version of Hulk, the variant of Hulk that haunts his own dreams. He rules over the creatively named city of Dystopia as an incredibly evil and immoral dictator. Years and years of radiation due to the nuclear conflict that spawned this dystopian future had made Maestro sick and villainous, as well as twice as strong as the base level Hulk, but with all the intelligence of Banner to boot. This bearded green behemoth has been a fan favorite character since his introduction in the Future Imperfect storyline, and his backstory, fighting the Human Torch, Doctor Doom, Namor the Submariner, and Abomination, is pretty intense and a fun read. Not to mention his debut where he fights the Incredible Hulk and defeats him like it's absolutely nothing to him. Such a great character. I think he needs to show up in the MCU, like sooner or later, please. Just once. Just one time. Just one time. Number 2, Immortal Hulk. Who knew that all those times Bruce Banner should have lost his life and was saved by the Hulk, he actually did, and was revived. Apparently, all these revivals actually made Hulk more and more powerful, resulting in the Immortal Hulk, which is one of the most powerful versions of the Hulk we have ever seen. He's articulate, he seems to be more intelligent than Banner, and his strength is nearly unrivaled. He can literally smell when someone is lying, which is just kind of insane by itself. But I think the strangest thing is that he will only come out at night, kind of like how the original Hulk did. But now, the Hulk won't even come out to actually save Banner's life anymore. Like when Bruce caught a bullet to the head and was actually lifeless on the ground until nighttime came and the Immortal Hulk came out. The Immortal Hulk storyline is also incredible, and you should absolutely check it out. But just to warn you, while the art is really good, it can be really graphic and kind of freaky at times. So You've been warned. Number 1. Breaker of Worlds. I said the Immortal Hulk was the most powerful Hulk we have been shown, but there is an alternate one shown in the same Immortal Hulk storyline that kind of tops everything else. Like ever. In Immortal Hulk, we meet the one below all, the representative of all destruction and death in the Marvel Universe, and the antithesis to the one above all, who is basically God. He is an incredibly powerful being who is thankfully trapped in the below place, and exists through gamma mutated characters like the Hulk and Abomination and all those guys. But not on Earth TRN 781. In this reality, the one below all managed to destroy the soul of Bruce Banner and take his place inside the Hulk's body, possessing the Hulk. This possessed Hulk goes on a mission of destruction, removing crazy powerful characters like Franklin Richards and Galactus, and consuming them to gain their power, becoming more and more powerful, until he found the sentience of the 8th cosmos, and did the exact same thing to him too. Fast forward about 10 billion years, and the Breaker of Worlds had destroyed all life and all planets in the multiverse. But now we move on to the 9th cosmos, I think that's how that works. I really don't know. All I know, or even understand, is that this version of the Hulk is massive, bigger than the biggest planets, which he destroys with his giant emerald fists. He is empty and hollow and utterly terrifying. A godlike being who transcends understanding. He's sweet. You should check him out.
Number 10. Outsmarted. One of the most famous fights between the Hulk and the Thing also happens to be one of the first. This one goes down in Fantastic Four issue number 12, where the Fantastic Four are led to believe that the Hulk is the one behind a bunch of destruction, an attempt to get together to try and stop him. However, this does not end up working out very well. That's because the Hulk is not only the strongest there is, but he also manages to outsmart them almost completely. Hulk realizes that the FF have the advantage, since together they are very powerful, but if he can take them on one by one, then he stands a better chance at defeating them. That's right, it wasn't even his brute strength, but his strategy that allowed him to defeat the Fantastic Four this time around. Well, almost. The Thing seemingly defeats the Hulk with his piledriver punch, but in reality, his punch misses, and it was actually an energy ray that hit the Hulk and knocked him out. Fortunately though, this reveals to the FF that the Hulk was not behind all the destruction, and yeah. They can at least now go after the people that are actually responsible. Number 9. Illuminate the Truth. In the secondary short comic that is included in the World War Hulk prologue Worldbreaker, titled Round Trip, we get to see an alternate Hulk embarrass a group he refers to as the Illuminators, obviously the more cartoonish version of the Illuminati. This group ends up sending Hulk to space and another planet in a spaceship, ultimately because he stole Namor's sandwich. How does Hulk embarrass them? In a similar fashion to his plan in the reality of Earth 616, he ends up heading homeward after the group exiles him. Here he doesn't necessarily seem to have the same trauma behind him as he does on 616, fueling his rage even more, but the Illuminators are still completely in a tizzy over the fact that the Hulk ship seems to be on a return course after they sent him away. Except Namor. Namor feels safe knowing that he lives deep in the ocean, and that if the surface world gets all smashed up, he and his kingdom will probably still be good. Number 8. To Hear You Scream. Speaking of World War Hulk, one of the most embarrassing fights comes from the very beginning of that event, in World War Hulk issue number 1, when Hulk faces off against Black Bolt. Black Bolt and his queen Medusa, you see, have some ego, which ends up quickly turning into hubris for them. Black Bolt had fought the Hulk before and won, so it was for this reason that they barely even gave Hulk the time of day when he shows up. When Hulk rushes them both, angry for what has happened to his people and the planet that he freed and made his own, Black Bolt only responds with a whisper, saying, "Enough," and with the force of his words pushing Hulk far back. But Hulk ends up coming out on top as he immediately recovers and leaps back at Black Bolt. He didn't come to Attilan for a whisper, he came to hear Black Bolt scream, and it definitely seems like he makes him scream. He does not look like he's in great shape after that conversation. Number 7. Size isn't everything. It really isn't in terms of battle, as is proven in the Ultimates issue number 5. You see, in the Ultimate Universe of Earth 1610, Hulk isn't exactly a hero. Here the Avengers are known as the Ultimates, although there is also an Avengers team in this reality, but trust me, they aren't quite the heroic equivalent to the 616 team that we know. But the Ultimates pretty much are that. As Hulk goes on a rampage downtown, the Ultimates must band together in an effort to defeat him. And to be clear, in this reality, reality, Hulk isn't on the Ultimates. The first one up to bat to try to tackle this big beast is Giant Man, aka Hank Pym. He attempts to defeat the Hulk as, well, a giant man. But just because Hulk is smaller than Hank doesn't mean he can't still pack a punch. While Giant Man attempts to hold Hulk beneath his hands and ask him to calm down, also calling him puny, Hulk responds by jumping onto Giant Man's face and threatening to rip his head off and use it like a toilet bowl, before punching his lights out. Proving that, yeah, even if you think, well, I'm a lot bigger than the Hulk, it doesn't mean that the Hulk can't mess you up. Number 6. Bustin' makes me feel not so good. In the case of Tony Stark, that is. While the Hulkbuster became a famous suit of armor in the Avengers film franchise, we also know it from the comics. During the events of World War Hulk, Tony attempted to use this armor to defeat the Hulk when he returned to Earth and threatened to destroy it if he wasn't given the heroes responsible for sending him into space. One of which who was responsible was Tony, who actually initially created the Illuminati group that sent the Hulk away. Tony had also created nanotech, which would in theory be capable of suppressing the Hulk's powers, actually even forcibly using it on Jennifer Walters previously, which she actually sued him for in return. However, the Hulkbuster, the nanosuppressant, even the big bombs that they attempted to use all did nothing. Hulk's pain was so intense, his anger so great, that he became powerful enough to survive all of this and remain in his Hulk form. So apparently it doesn't matter how smart you are, Tony, or how prepared. In the end, if Hulk wants to smash, he's going to continue to smash. You can't Hulk bust your way out of that one. Number 5. J'accuse. Blade is one of the newest members of the Avengers main roster. And being new, it seems that he doesn't quite understand how best to deal with other Avengers members, like former and founding Avenger member, the Hulk. While Hulk is on a rampage, the Avengers attempt to intercede in Immortal Hulk issue 47. And Blade thinks he has it all figured out. He thinks that Hulk has actually been transformed into a vampire thanks to his new/old powers like being stronger at night and being able to return from the dead. Blade might know vampires, but that doesn't mean he's always right when it comes to his suspicions. Hulk's response to Blade's accusation? To ask him if he can turn into a bat, being that Blade is also part vampire. Blade responds with no, and Hulk tells him it's a good time to learn as he tosses him up high and away. He's like, hey, can you do that? You can't? Great. Bye. Number 4. Hot tubbing. While some people might focus on when Hulk beat Thor in Thor Ragnarok in the MCU when it comes to embarrassing moments, I think there is one that tops that. After the fight, Thor is taken to Hulk's private quarters, where his wounds are tended to. When he awakes with a start, he notices Hulk is also there in what appears to be a hot tub? Hulk hot tub. Thor asks Hulk about how he ended up here, and when he finds out that he crash landed on Sakaar via a Quinjet, asks him where the Quinjet is. Hulk responds by getting up out of the tub and crossing the room to where the window is to show Thor the current location of the Quinjet now. This is when Thor learns that Hulk was, naked in that hot tub, which prompts him to seemingly avert his eyes and remark on how that image is now permanently burned into his mind. Yeah, he looks pretty uncomfortable and pretty embarrassed. Oh boy. Number 3. Love frenzy. There was that one time Bruce Banner as the Hulk completely lost it, going into a frenzy that caused him to try and both chase down and beat up She-Hulk. And not only that either. It turns out this whole attempt to do so was actually kind of part of a mating ritual thing. It seems that Hulk forgot that She-Hulk was his cousin, because he was in a frenzied Hulk form. Luckily, Hulk didn't get his way here and was eventually set right again. Although in the Old Man Logan universe, the two do apparently end up together, and we don't really know if Jen was here for that or not. Either way, the whole ordeal is pretty embarrassing for Jen, but also likely embarrassing for Bruce as well, if he was told about it afterwards. It's just embarrassing all around, and also pretty, squicky. Ugh. Number 2. Ripped in Two. Wow, I like how I made number 2 ripped in two. I didn't do that on purpose, but that's good. When Ultimate Wolverine and Ultimate Hulk fought one another in the Ultimate Universe, Hulk pretty much put Wolverine to shame. In this alternate universe of Earth 1610, Wolverine was hired by Nick Fury to track down the Hulk. Wolverine tracked him down alright, but wasn't so good at dealing with him once he did. At one point, Hulk tears Wolverine straight down the middle and tosses his legs so far away that Logan has a challenging time recovering them. And of course I mean right down the middle, not down the middle this way, like down across the middle, I guess I should say. In this reality, Wolverine can't just grow new legs, by the way. In order to recover, he needs to find and basically reattach his legs so that his healing powers, or his survival powers more like, can basically take effect and kick in and heal him. So yeah, he had to crawl all the way over to find his legs in the snow. Great. Also, mountains. There were mountains there. Number 1. Why are you hitting yourself? While Thor and Hulk fought in Ragnarok, where Hulk only really won against Thor thanks to the help of Grand Master, tasing Thor until he passed out, just as he was figuring out how to harness the power of lightning without his hammer too, in the comics these two have fought actually multiple times. One such occasion involved a showdown where Hulk made fun of Thor for having long hair, mistaking him for a hairy lady and telling him that he should get a haircut. Thor of course did not take too kindly to these remarks about his long golden locks, which he quite loves, and fought back against Hulk with his hammer Mjolnir. However, Thor ended up surprised when Hulk refused to surrender, claiming he was the strongest there will ever be, before grabbing Thor's hammer arm and then making Thor basically hit himself with Mjolnir. Ouch. Hey Thor, why are you hitting yourself?